The upcoming fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez has stirred deep debate across the boxing world, and rightfully so. While Terence Crawford is undeniably one of the most skilled and disciplined fighters of his generation, this move up in weight to challenge the undisputed champion at 168 pounds ca 76 kilograms has raised major concerns among boxing legends, trainers, and analysts. It's a bold leap that many believe might be too far, even for someone as talented as Crawford. One of the most vocal critics has been Juan Manuel Marquez, the Mexican legend known for his technical brilliance and profound understanding of the sport. Marquez didn't hold back when speaking about Crawford's chances at super middleweight. While he respects Crawford's skill set highlighting his defensive abilities and sharp combination punching, Marquez doesn't believe it will be enough this time. The concern for him isn't about Crawford's ability in a vacuum, it's about how that ability will translate against a naturally bigger, stronger, and more experienced opponent like Canelo Alvarez. Marquez has deep respect for Canelo's evolution as a fighter. He sees him as the complete package: strong, intelligent in the ring, and battle-tested against some of the sport's most dangerous opponents. Marquez praised Canelo's defensive capabilities and ability to control the pace of a fight. From his perspective, Canelo has become a master of his craft and is simply too seasoned and too physically imposing for Crawford to overcome. When it comes to Crawford's jump in weight, Marquez made it clear he doesn't like the move. He emphasized the importance of weight classes in boxing, not just as arbitrary divisions but as necessary boundaries that reflect physical realities. He recalled Crawford's past struggles when moving up to higher weights, specifically citing how Crawford appeared slower and less powerful when he faced a naturally bigger opponent like Jeff Horn and later at 154. For Marquez, moving up another 2 weight classes on top of that seems more like a gamble than a strategy. The message from Marquez is clear: talent is critical, but in boxing, size matters, especially when it comes to power, durability, and ring presence. Echoing this sentiment was strength coach Rob Aosta, who took an even more technical approach to the discussion. Aosta respects Crawford's athleticism and work ethic, acknowledging the fighter's well-rounded training regimen, which includes wrestling and weight training. However, he emphasized that building up to a weight class and eating into it are two completely unique things. According to Aosta, Crawford is not naturally growing into the 168-pound class he is forcing the weight on, which may not translate into functional strength or endurance. Aosta compared Crawford's natural frame to that of someone who spars bigger guys but hasn't actually fought in that division under real fight conditions. That difference, he warned, is significant. While sparring offers exposure, it doesn't replicate the physical stress and danger of competing against elite fighters in an official bout. He reminded fans that while Crawford may walk around at 180 pounds ca 82 kilograms, it's not the same as Canelo cutting down from 180 to make 168. Canelo's weight comes from muscle and years of adaptation to fighting at that level. In contrast, Crawford's weight is not built for battle at that scale. The most glaring issue Aosta identified is the uncertainty surrounding Crawford's power at this weight. He noted that even in Crawford's recent move from 147 to 154, his shots didn't seem to carry the same effect. Both he and his opponent took clean punches, but neither seemed truly affected. That lack of visible damage in those exchanges raised questions about how Crawford's power scales up. If it didn't fully transfer at 154, what will it look like at 168, especially against someone with a chin like Canelo's? Canelo has faced and absorbed punches from some of the hardest hitters in the sport, including Gennady Golovkin and Sergey Kovalev. The idea that Crawford can jump into that same weight class and pose the same level of threat is, in Aosta's eyes, unrealistic. He underscored that it's not just about making weight, it's about being able to compete and win at that weight, and that's where the problem lies for Crawford. Veteran trainer Abel Sanchez reinforced these concerns. Sanchez, known for his no-nonsense approach, dismissed the matchup as a physical mismatch. He didn't challenge Crawford's credentials as a boxer. Instead, he questioned whether any amount of skill could overcome the sheer physical advantage Canelo possesses. Sanchez pointed out that while Crawford might weigh in around 160 to 163 pounds ca 74 kilograms on fight night, that doesn't change the fact that Canelo is a natural super middleweight who has been hit by legitimate light heavyweights and stood firm. That kind of toughness and experience, Sanchez argued, can't be matched simply by bulking up. Sanchez made it clear he believes the fight is happening for financial reasons, not because it makes competitive sense. In his eyes, this isn't a bout worth paying for, because the risk to Crawford outweighs any perceived chance at victory. He predicted that eventually, Canelo will land clean, and when he does, Crawford will feel it in a way he never has before. Sanchez acknowledged Crawford's talent but firmly stated that in a sport where size and power matter, this fight could end badly for him. Darius Ko added to the growing skepticism. As someone who appreciates the technical side of boxing, he found merit in the matchup from a stylistic point of view but ultimately came to the same conclusion: Crawford doesn't have the pop to keep Canelo honest. For Ko, the idea of Crawford hurting Canelo just doesn't add up. While he could potentially outbox him in spurts and win a few rounds, Ko believes Crawford won't be able to put a dent in Canelo's armor, whereas the Mexican star could end things with a single sequence. Ko believes that without a power threat, Crawford is left relying solely on movement and defense strategies that are extremely difficult to maintain over 12 rounds against a pressure fighter like Canelo. He likened the scenario to a classic boxing truth: a good big man usually beats a good little man, especially when the skill levels are comparable. Ko acknowledged that Crawford might have the skill edge in some areas, but it's not wide enough to negate Canelo's physical advantages. As the fight progresses and Canelo starts walking Crawford down, Ko sees only one outcome: Canelo taking over and winning decisively. Jim Lampley, a legendary broadcaster with decades of ringside experience, approached the fight with cautious respect. Lampley is a self-described Terence Crawford fan, having called many of his fights and watching him rise through the ranks from lightweight to welterweight. Yet even Lampley couldn't ignore the danger of this matchup. He emphasized the scale of the jump Crawford is attempting, noting that the jump from 147 to 168 is enormous, especially in boxing's middle-range weight classes where speed, strength, and timing are delicately balanced. Lampley pointed out that Crawford hasn't even been tested thoroughly at 154, making the idea of skipping straight to 168 that much more alarming. His biggest concern was Crawford's lack of punching power at this weight. He openly questioned how Crawford is supposed to hurt a man like Canelo, someone who's taken flush shots from fighters with far more natural size and power than Crawford. Canelo, Lampley reminded everyone, has never truly been hurt in the ring. He's never been knocked down officially except for one borderline case where he was knocked into the ropes. Canelo's ability to absorb punishment from fighters like Kovalev and Bivol, both significantly larger than Crawford, makes this matchup a high-risk endeavor for the Nebraska native. Lampley wasn't dismissive of Crawford's skills. He suggested that a strategy based on movement and clean boxing, a paint job as he called it, might give Crawford the best shot at surviving and winning on points. But even then, he questioned whether it's a realistic strategy against someone who applies pressure as effectively and patiently as Canelo. Finally, rising welterweight Paul Kroll offered a perspective grounded in realism and respect. He acknowledged the fight's appeal and importance but clarified it that Canelo is the favorite for a reason. Kroll believes it all comes down to whether there is a significant skill gap. If Crawford can show he's levels above Canelo in terms of ring IQ and adaptability, then there's a chance. But if the skills are close as many believe they are, then Canelo's size and strength become the deciding factors. Kroll noted that Crawford's fighting mentality makes things more interesting. Unlike fighters who enter survival mode when facing danger, Crawford is the kind to push forward and take risks. That attitude, while admirable, can also leave him open to Canelo's counters. Kroll compared the fight to Floyd Mayweather's bout with a younger Canelo, acknowledging that if Crawford can replicate that level of dominance, he might pull off the upset. But that's a massive if. In the end, Kroll circled back to what has become the dominant theme: power. He doesn't believe Crawford will be able to hurt Canelo, and that means Crawford would need to pitch a perfect fight over 12 rounds to win. There's no margin for error. No second chances. Just one mistake, and Canelo could turn the tide permanently. After hearing from respected voices across the boxing landscape from Marquez and Sanchez to Lampley and Kroll, the message is consistent. Crawford is elite. No one doubts that. But this fight isn't just about skill. It's about size, power, durability, and experience. It's about whether greatness can overcome physical reality. If Terence Crawford pulls this off, it will be one of the most remarkable achievements in modern boxing history. But as things stand, most believe he is stepping into a storm he may not be able to weather.